We were all taught that he is a creature that protects animals against hunters. What nobody knows is that this is an evil entity that feeds on the fears and agony of those who attack in the forest. He prides himself on flogging his victims until he leaves the bones exposed. This is the truth behind the Curupira, and I know this because my siccers won't let me forget it. There is a popular saying that says if the Portuguese had known about the ancient horrors that inhabit in Brazilian forests, they would have immediately headed back to Portugal. Do not believe it when they tell you that he is a protective creature of the forest, because he is not. He is a demonic creature that feeds on the blood of men who do not respect the forest, has a high-pitched laugh with fiery eyes and a stature like the of a man of half higher. He moves quickly through the trees as if he were one with the forest. I remember that day I was walking through the Amazon rainforest when I realized that I had lost myself. And when I noticed this, I tried to calm down. After all, it was still daylight and I could fight my way back. I tried to go back the way I had come from, but all I managed to do was get even more lost. And the further I got into the darker, hotter, and noisier forest it got, the sun was already setting and I was losing hope when luckily I found a man with a rifle in hand. He was a hunter looking for jaguars to kill. He told me that night was falling and if we didn't leave that place immediately, we would be the hunts, because the jaguar are excellent nocturnal predators. So I started following the hunters so we could find our way back. He asked me how I got lost so deep in the forest, and I replied that I was in problems, and when I realized I was lost. Night fell faster than we thought, but that hunter was experienced and knew very well where we was. And it was then that we saw a huge capybara, and the hunter said he had never seen a capybara that big and so deep in the forest, as this is a creature who really likes being close to the water. The hunter quickly grabbed his rifle, pointed at the capybara, and fired. The capybara will fall dead in front of our eyes, and when we ran to see the dead animal, as if by magic, the body was no longer there. The hunter said that it should have crawled and that it shouldn't be too far away, night or day. It wouldn't lose wonderful prey. And we started running like crazy through the forest, and it was very strange because we could hear the capybara grunting in pain right in front of us, and the more we ran towards the moans, the more he moved away from us, but we always keep very close. And when we realized we no longer knew exactly where we were, and the creature agonized screams were slowly becoming diabolical laughers. It was already too late. It was very dark. I couldn't see a span in front of my face, and I was already all cut by the dense vegetation. I was hungry and very thirsty due to the absurd heat it makes in the forest. It was when we heard the demonic laughter again. Rapid movements in the trees denounced that something disturbing was lurking. The hunter soon said, "It can only be Curupira. We shouldn't have stayed so late in the forest." Then I remembered that stories that my grandmother told me about the creature. She said that he's protective the animals of the forest against evil hunters, and that he's wiped the evildoers with a whip that on its end had hookers made with the same metal of the Tupã spears. He was a demon of small stature that moved very fast and had a strength like the 800 man's, and that it was impossible to track him in the forest because he had his feet turned backwards, always giving the wrong direction to his executioners. The hunter immediately asked, "You have smokes there with you? If you have smoke, we can offer it to him, and then we can live without any problem." Poor hunter. Not to be so wrong, that demon was thirsty for blood, and our blood was chosen to be taken that night. So it was as if with a wind blow I felt a fierce blood on my back. I gave the biggest cry of my life, because I had never felt so much pain. I felt my back wet. And I knew something very wrong was happening. It was then that the hunter said, "Follow me," and we started to run like crazy. And with each step we heard laughter in the chase as well as the tree moving. Sometimes we heard the sounds of jaguars, sometimes the sounds of birds, and other times we heard the crawling of snakes. That demon has the ability to transform itself into any creature he wanted. And I felt another blow at the level of my legs. I screamed and fell to the ground. In addition to grating myself, I hit my head on the rock. I was very dizzy and disoriented. When I started to receive many blows, I tried to defend myself with my hands, but it was useless. It was as if a hook arrived through my skin. It was when that there was silence, and the hunter tried to help me up, shouted, "Something caught my leg! Something caught my leg!" I couldn't see him, but I had him being dragged into the forest, where from a distance I heard his scream and the blows he received. And all the animals in the forest began to make a hellish noise, as if celebrating the attack on the hunters. The screams grew weaker and weaker until I could no longer hear anything. The forest was now in the infernal silence when I heard the words from the distance like a zombie speaking. "It is your turn." So, before that thing caught me, I gathered all the strength I had left and started running for my life. I had never run so much in my entire life. Luckily, I saw the city lights and I ran like crazy towards the lights, and when at the end I came out of the forest, I remember seeing two people passing by and shouting for help. And why wake up? I was in the hospital, all bandaged. The nurse came to me and said that I will be very lucky because I was attacked by a jaguar and my body was very cut, and that I would have scissors forever. I tried to explain that it was not a damaged jaguar, that had been the Curupira. I ended up in the psychiatric clinic for 6 months. I tried to tell them to look for the hunter's body, but they told me that no one else reported any disappearance and that it had been my imagination. So, dear friends, listen to my warning. If you came to Brazil, avoid the deep forest and never hurt an animal or the Curupira will come for you. I'm Snapes, and this is my library.